It is day 262, if you are counting, of the second Trump administration. And today, former FBI Director James Comey entered a plea of not guilty in federal court. He was charged with 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The charges were brought after a public campaign by the president himself to prosecute him and other political opponents. Writing on Truth Social last month, "We cannot delay any longer. It is killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now," with a whole lot of exclamation points. A trial date has been set for January 5th, but Comey's defense attorney has signaled that he will move to get this case completely dismissed. With that, I want to bring in our nightcap. Paul Rieckhoff is back, founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America and host of the Independent Americans podcast. Dave Weigel is here in person, not just remote, reporter for Semaphore. Democratic strategist Joel Payne, who we have not seen in ages, is back. He was also a senior aide for Hillary for America and press secretary for former Senator Harry Reid. Also with us, Liz Oyer, former DOJ pardon attorney and federal public defender. Liz, you know I'm starting with you on this topic. What sticks out to you about this case and what we saw in court today? Fill us in. Most people here weren't watching all the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, there are so many unusual things about this case that it's hard to know where to start. I'll start with the fact that the lead prosecutor who got this indictment is a very inexperienced official who has never prosecuted a case before. So she had to bring in a pair of prosecutors from North Carolina to sit in the courtroom with her and do the talking at today's hearing. These lawyers are U.S. attorneys, but they don't even work in the Virginia office where this case is being prosecuted. They were imported from another office because literally nobody in the Virginia office wants to work on this case. We did get a preview at this hearing today of what types of arguments Comey's defense lawyers will be making, and there are some serious grounds to potentially seek dismissal of the case before it even gets to a jury. They're going to be arguing that this was a vindictive prosecution that was politically motivated. They're going to be arguing that the U.S. attorney who I referred to was not legally appointed and didn't even have the authority to bring this indictment. So there are going to be lots of grounds that the court could look at to potentially throw out this case before it even makes it to that January trial date.
How likely is that to happen?
Well, there are really pretty serious legal arguments here that raise real questions about whether this is a viable indictment. And this could prove extremely embarrassing for the Trump administration if they're not able to even get to a jury with this case. The evidence that supports the charges appears to be very thin based on what we know so far as well. So if they do get to a jury, they're going to have some real difficulty meeting the higher evidentiary standard to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt that they'll have to face then. This really has the potential to blow up in their faces at multiple different stages.
Well, tell us about Patrick Fitzgerald. That is Comey's attorney. He's a well-known prosecutor and a longtime friend of Jim Comey.
Yeah, he's a very experienced U.S. attorney, and he signaled in court today that he's very prepared to make some aggressive arguments on behalf of James Comey today. He's a widely respected prosecutor, so the court will undoubtedly listen to the legal arguments that he raises and take them very seriously. I think one of the things that we got out of today's hearing was a sense that there has been no discovery yet turned over by the prosecution, and the defense is going to be seeking some information about the inner workings behind the decision to bring this prosecution. We know from what's been reported that there was a memo written by career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia where the case is being prosecuted, saying that they don't think there's a factual or legal basis to bring these charges. Patrick Fitzgerald will be seeking to get that information and to have it turned over as part of his defense of James Comey. The Justice Department will undoubtedly claim that that information is privileged, and the court will have to sort out whether to turn it over. But Fitzgerald is going to be trying to get a great deal of additional information from the government that will really force them to explain what was behind the decision to bring these charges and where some of the discrepancies lie in terms of whether there's actually an evidentiary basis to support them.
Joel, the president has accused President Biden of using the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents, i.e. Donald Trump. And now that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. So in terms of public opinion, is this just going to split right down the middle? Because Republicans did feel like Donald Trump was being politically persecuted.
Well, look, Jim Comey makes for a poor, someone who is going to get a lot of sympathy from folks. He's got Democratic and Republican enemies. But honestly,
but he's
Stephanie,
not you're right, but he's not a politician.
He's not a politician, and I'm listening. I'm compelled by Liz's breakdown of the situation here. The outcome of this is honestly secondary. Like, what actually happens? Like, I imagine Jim Comey has great legal representation with Fitzgerald, and I imagine there's a good case that this might not get out of the pretrial phase, but whatever.
Okay, I like where you're going.
The fact that Donald Trump is doing this, it's about having a chilling effect, not just on Republicans that might dare cross him one day, on others in the public space who might say a thing that he doesn't like. This is a part of a sophisticated campaign. It's in line with suing media companies. It's in line with suing universities. It is meant to chill dissent. It is meant to stop people from speaking out against this president.
You're nodding your head.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, he's on strategy. He's been taking about 10 months or so to get the pieces in place at DOJ, at FBI, at the Pentagon, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But now he's coming after his enemies, and he's starting with Comey. Next could be Dr. Fauci. Next could be General Milley. And he doesn't care if he actually gets a prosecution or not. He wants to send a message. He wants to intimidate, and he wants to stifle dissent also among the grassroots. He wants to tell every American, if I can come after Jim Comey, if I can come after General Milley, I can come after you, too.
If anything, what are you hearing from Republicans on the Hill, A? And B, given this chilling effect, are you hearing less now than ever? Because this White House, compared to Trump 1.0, is a lot less leaky.
It's less leaky, and the Republicans in Congress, there are not that many this week, but when they're there are very few left who want to challenge the president on this. They accept the premise, and you saw it this week with senators misdescribing what was in Jack Smith's report, what was declassified by the administration, to say their phones were tapped. For some reason, people wanted to see their phone records between January 3rd and January 7th. Who could remember why?
But that doesn't mean your phone's tapped.
Thanks for correcting that. Their phones were not tapped. They were looking at the call records. But that's the same premise as Trump. They all agree with this premise that the Garland DOJ, which was to a fault very careful about not being politicized, to the annoyance of Joe Biden. We know at the time he was frustrated Garland was not moving faster. In their storyline, Biden did this, anything is fair play, and all these people who not just Comey, people who investigated them inside the FBI or in the DOJ, if they have to go, they should go. They all are on board with Trump's premise. You are not seeing any Republican dissent on the way he is framing this or the people he's going after. And some of the targets, universities, et cetera, they've been waiting decades for a president to do that sort of thing.
How about Republicans on the Hill? I know what you said, they're speaking out publicly much less. What about privately to reporters?
What is that worth? Because there's a lot of that in the first term, too, of Democrats saying we've counted the votes. This many people want to impeach him, but they're not going to do it, or want to convict him and they won't do it. Less of that, too. No, that's the part I was closing on. It is sincere that they are bought into the idea that you need to use the power of the presidency to roll back the power of the left in every institution. The president's enemies, there are some they care about, some they don't care about, but you're not hearing Republican dissent on the idea that law firms that were very aggressive and be doing pro bono work for progressives 8 years ago are not doing it now. They're not. They love to see the Ivy League squirm. There's not much Republican dissent. We look for it, but less than the last term. And even if when you saw Ted Cruz speak out about the FCC, that stood out because we saw lots of that in the first term, very little this time, and it was successful. You've seen it does shock the system if a Republican opposes that, but they opposed it because they can imagine more easily some future Democrat using the FCC against them than they can, the university policy or the law firm policy. They think those are slanted more in Democrats' favor from birth. Yeah. They want to go after them.